and the printer had run out of ink, and it was worthless. So I run into the office here, and I'm like, print this, print that. Again, we're a small, little independent news outfit that is not controlled by corporate funding, so we can talk about whatever we wish here, but sometimes the antics are amazing, and generally it's my fault. Okay, but let me just break this down. Number one, if this is a normal, regularly occurring flu, because there's always new mutations, hundreds a year that can make humans sick or even kill them. And between 15 and 30,000 Americans die each year from flu. I say 15 to 30,000 because the numbers put out by the CDC and the government are wide-ranging year to year. But on the low end, 15,000. On the high end, I've seen it as high as 35,000. But a lot of those are elderly people and folks that are sick and already had bad immune systems, and the media likes to hype up flu to push inoculation. And so I tend to go with the low end. But still, if you're one of the 15,000 dead, on the low end, it's still catastrophic for you. You know, one person dies, it's catastrophic. So I want to be clear here. We're not saying this is a pandemic. The mainstream media is saying it's a pandemic. The mainstream media has all these headlines, fear-mongering. But I'd made some calls to some medical doctors and some virologists this evening and today, and I did a lot of research, and I'm going to be having some of those men and women on the Sunday show tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. That's on the AM and FM dial. This is internet only right now, though I'm told some micros and a few affiliates are picking it up. And I'll be detailing this more, and then Monday, Tuesday, we'll have guests on about it, because regardless of whether this turns out to be a real pandemic or whether it's a false alarm, it illustrates things we should be concerned about as a society. Now, I've done a lot of research on the flu because I saw the New World Order hyping it and pushing it and all these headlines. You can Google them. 1 billion to die from bird flu, 3 billion to die from pig flu, swine flu. And I would see this 4, 5, 6, even 10 years ago they were hyping it. And I went and I researched it, interviewed a lot of doctors and people. So what I'm saying is what the doctors and virologists and epidemiologists have said, this is not Alex Jones, that anytime you have something break out, even with airports and travel, when you have something simultaneously break out within a few days all over the world and all over regions like North America, and if it doesn't burn itself out very, very quickly, if it doesn't dissipate and become harmless, first weekend and then become harmless, very, very quickly, it is staged. And I talked to one medical doctor tonight, and he said, look, I want to do more research on this, but Alex, here's some emails, here's the mainline medical charts on this. You can see the viral charts, and we'll come on soon, but they wanted to do more research. But the point is, and they were busy, they had a family event to go to. We'll have some of those doctors again on tomorrow and Monday. But this is all common knowledge, too. You can look it up. This was all done on short notice. If you have a real mutation, say, in Mexico City, somewhere where they're breeding pigs next to chickens, and then they're mixing all of the feces together, that's generally where it mutates, as a honeypot, like the Germans do, the Mexicans do it too, to create fertilizer. They let the human waste pool. Then bacterial blooms take place. It heats up to 130 degrees. The bacteria then die in their own excrement, and then it basically becomes good fertilizer, and there's really no pathogens in it. But within that toxic stew, while it's fermenting, that's where you get the natural virus crossovers and mutations. Though it is incredibly rare to have a bird flu with a swine flu with a human flu mutate together, and then it's even more rare, this is key, it's even more rare to have the strains, normally you see it in South Korea or China, where they have this type of agriculture and big groups of people huddled together. You will see it start in China or start in South Korea, and you notice it never really gets to Europe, it burns itself out. And it will be flus, whether they're bird, swine, human, that have been seen and tracked in years past that will mutate together. And it'll be regional, because that's where it happens. In this case, it's from Europe, Asia, and North America, all mutating, and outside Mexico City, surrounding areas, appears to be the epicenter of this. And now here's the third part of what's key. First off, it's rare to have three of them together, human, bird, and swine together. Then it's very bizarre to have it from all over the world, from Asia, from Europe, and from North America together, mutating together. This normally happens, again, in agricultural slurries. Now, why, if it's a naturally occurring pandemic of some type of dangerous virus or even bacteria, why, if it's naturally occurring, by the time it gets to other countries or crosses borders, it almost always burns itself out and mutates into something that's not harmful or less harmful? Because, you know, to match up, to be zoological especially, and to be able to hit humans outside of its species, bird or pig or whatever the case may be, it's like hitting a bullet with a bullet. It's very rare out of the trillions of viral interactions, you know, going on in any one area at a time. I mean, it's incalculable, the amounts of interactions going on. It's probably infinity. It's incredible, nearing infinity. So what we're dealing with here is an issue where if this started in Mexico, by the time it got into one person, one flu virus goes in and plugs in to the stomach wall, plugs into the mucous membrane, it starts replicating, and it might create 1 million more viruses inside that cell. The cell busts open, you know, virus plugs in, programs it, turns the cell's engine on to manufacture viruses. The cell swells, busts open. There's 1 million viruses, sometimes more, sometimes less. Some systems, it's tens of millions they report. But 1 million viruses spill out whose DNA has now been replicated, and you're going to have a mutation right there. It hits the next group of cells. Now the millions turn into billions. They replicate. This is when you start getting sick. Your body heats up to slow down the viruses. It sends out white blood cells. Okay, that first virus hits, boom. 1 million more come out, then 1 billion, then hundreds of billions, then thousands of trillions, then trillions. There's mutations and errors in the code as all of this goes on. And, you know, a virus gets blasted by a group of white blood cells, and then it mutates even more, then it mixes with human DNA. It's changing. All these things are going on inside the cells. And then this guy sneezes in a grocery store as he's getting sick in Mexico City. Somebody else gets it. This time it's 1 trillion replications later. Of course, they would say, you know, each time the virus replicated would be one replication. So let's actually say it's 10 replications later, but there's all sorts of different replications and chains going on in different variants. So we could say 1 trillion or we could say 10. But let's just say it's already mutated several times. The person sneezes. Someone inhales that. Now it starts replicating and mutating again. And by the time it's gone through 10, 15 different people, that's thousands and thousands of replications. Depending on how you look at it, it could be trillions of replications. But major changes have happened many, many times now, thousands of times. And so by the time it gets from Mexico City to South Texas and San Antonio and then Austin and Kansas and New York and Montreal and on airplanes all over the world, it has mutated until it is no longer as deadly as it was or as harmless. Now, talking to doctors, and that's why the particular doctor I talked to said, well, it looks like if it does start killing people in the U.S., then it is manufactured. It is manufactured. But in fact, I had this question all day. That's why I was calling doctors up, out of my Rolodex, and virologists, and looking online and trying to study it, even though I had a lot of knowledge on it. Because they're reporting 68 dead as of this morning, and now the BBC is reporting doctors inside hospitals are saying there's a cover-up because they don't want to have a panic, but that it's over 200 dead. I've got that report up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com right now. Drudge is also a good clearinghouse of all this news that I've seen. Just giving you the best places I've seen. And with the most coverage, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. Drudge is good as well. Because I'm saying, wait, it's killing all these people in Mexico City. Everybody's wearing masks. The military's locking the cities down. They're basically declaring martial law down there. They got people quarantined in South Texas, and that's on record. Families are quarantined in several towns. There's people at hospitals quarantined in San Antonio and other hospitals. This is happening. But they're saying no deaths in the U.S., but all these deaths in Mexico. Well, if it is a naturally occurring mutation, if it wasn't injected or sprayed on people or put in food by black ops, as they've been caught in the New York subways in '68,